let's explore a zero-copy connector use case for finance and budgeting. In this example, I'm connected to a Snowflake database that gets information from SAP tables, primarily for the GL accounts and for the budgets allocated for this specific department and where it is in terms of its budget spent for the year. We're able to connect to that Snowflake table using Workflow Data Fabric Hub, where I'm able to connect to that database. In this case, it's called Finance, which connects to the different departments as well as their budgets for the year taken from the ERP system. Next up is for me to configure the fields that I'd like to be shown in my ServiceNow system using the fields that are available from my Snowflake database. So in here, I'd be able to identify or able to determine what's the primary key. And I also have the feature to be able to create a reference to a specific table that's already existing within ServiceNow. In this case, it's the cost center because I already have a table within SAP that connects to the cost centers that are already extracted from the ERP system. I'm able to cross-reference that. Now, the next step for me is to configure that cost center table. In this case, this is something that I'm using the zero copy for ERP for, where I'm getting that cost center. It's just a small table, so I'm happy to persist that in my SAP system, unlike the budgets that I'm getting from the Snowflake table. So that you can see that there are two different use cases here. Now that I've used, or rather connected those two different data sets, what I'll do then is I can get information that's being streamed, let's say from my cloud infrastructure. In this case, I have a Kafka event that I'm getting from my AWS system saying that I've spent this much. What I'll do then is I'll check whether this expenditure is causing additional or will exceed the budget that I've already allocated for a specific department. So I'm doing that using a workflow. So in this specific scenario, if I just go to the specific workflow here, what I'm doing here is based on the events. And that event contains the cost center as well as the event ID. We will look up the record of the cost center that's affected and use the data in the zero copy table and use that data as reference. How much have I already spent in this specific cost center and how much is that event costing me? And have I exceeded my budget? So what I'll do then is I'll trigger this specific workflow. Then I'll just do a test. Now, if I select an entry for a spend scenario or a spend event that's coming from my cloud infrastructure, I'll run test. My expectation now is we'll do some comparison. For example, is this spend causing this specific department to go over budget? And if it goes over budget, then create a finance case. And it will trigger, and after it triggers, it'll take about a few seconds for it to create the case. Now that's created the case. Let's just look at the details of this flow execution. Looks like it's executed successfully. And here's the context, here's the sum, and it looks like we are over budget. So what I'll do is I'll go to the Finance Operations Workspace, and we can see here the case type is budget review. And then from here, it says that the cost center for IT has exceeded budget because of that event that we have taken from the cloud infrastructure that has cost that's the budget for this specific IT cost center to be over budget. And there you go. From getting the data from Snowflake, connecting it with ERP data, connecting it with stream events, and using a workflow to check whether a specific department is over budget, then create the case that will be assigned to the relevant personnel based on the owner of that cost center. We do this all in one platform. Thanks for watching.